There comes a time when our parents may not feel comfortable driving, or possibly come a time when we don't feel comfortable with our parents driving, but then it becomes a real challenge sometimes to get them where they need to go.
When we have little kids, you have lots of carpool options.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really have that when you're trying to help your parents and take care of
Mm-hmm.
parents and seniors, elderly, etc. You just got to figure out a way to get them different places, whether it's run errands, go to the doctor's office, different things.
Right.
And that's where you need a little bit of help. And luckily, different places around different cities across the country have help like that. We're in Austin, Texas. And luckily, Austin, Texas has a program called Drive a Senior. Kit Chenault is a retired doctor here in Austin, Texas, and he's involved with Drive a Senior. Kit, we appreciate you joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell us about Drive a Senior, and I know you know a lot about the history and how it all started here in Austin.
Yeah, it started in 1985. There was a graduate student who was interested in elderly issues, and she got a grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and they started a program called Austin Caregivers, West Austin, or West Austin Caregivers. And that blossomed over a period of years. And primarily we provided transportation to elderly, free transportation through volunteers. But we provide other services to try to keep them in their home. And our initial goal was, and I'm going to read it so that I get all of the words correctly, that our goal is to enhance the quality of life of the clients, to maximize their ability to meet their own needs and those of others, and to continue living independently. In other words, living at home, which is where most people are happy. It is very difficult to live at home if you don't have transportation.
For sure. And once you aren't driving anymore, whether you can't or shouldn't or just choose not to, but when you aren't driving anymore, it does get tricky if you're going to the grocery store, if you're trying to do some of the things that you want to be able to do. And share a little bit about the kinds of help that people can get, and through Drive a Senior specifically, and obviously every city may have something similar, so you need to research that in your own city, but specifically with Drive a Senior, who can really get transportation, and what kinds of places can they go, if you will?
We primarily serve seniors who are 60 years of age or older and who do not drive themselves. It's quite a mixed bag. There are people who have family in town. There are people who have kids in town. There are people who have nobody in town. And so the needs are rather variable. So that's basically the issue. We sign them up. We do not move patients or clients who require a wheelchair, but we have a lot of walkers and that sort of thing. For the services we provide, 85% of our work is driving. So we have a list of volunteers, and they can go on our website and they can pick up a client and say, I've got Thursday morning available, and I'll just drive Mrs. Smith, and we'll go to the store, or we'll go on Friday to the hairdresser, or we'll go to the doctor. Our primary thing is of course to the doctor's office or medical related. But we go to the grocery store, and we go to the hairdresser, and we go to errands, and we go to the bank, and we go wherever. And we run errands for them as well. In addition to the driving services, we have a lot of information about senior services. The city has services, and there are other organizations like Meals on Wheels and all that stuff. We do provide social contacts for them because we call and check on them. So we, particularly during the pandemic, we've made somewhere in the range of 250 contacts a month.
Wow.
To call them and see what they're doing, and so on.
Yeah, just check on them.
Yeah, and actually, senior isolation is a big problem. If you don't drive, you go to the neighbors and so on. So we call and check on them and make sure that they're doing it. And of course, during the pandemic, we had an added responsibility. We wanted to make sure that they all had food. Because they couldn't get to the store and all that sort of thing. So we actually opened a temporary food bank, and now that has evolved So we now have formal relationships with food banks, and we drive the food. So the food bank fixes a packet. We go by, pick it up, and take it to a senior. And they are items that we learned the seniors would use rather than just a bunch of stuff.
Right.
They don't all like macaroni and cheese.
Outgrew that maybe. Well, and I think my daughter and I actually volunteered and drove many seniors, and we did enjoy getting to visit with them, and a lot of them were people who either maybe even had adult children in Austin, but were working full time, or didn't have the ability to take mom and dad to. We had one couple that we would take to the gym so that they could go and work out and get their exercise pre-pandemic, of course. But that is because I think and we had another woman that had to go to dialysis regularly, and so there were different needs. And I think the thing to think about is that for those of us who, even if we're in the city where our parent is, if we're working full time, we maybe can't take off every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to be able to take them as well. And it can get really expensive if you're having to use, a driver service, or, there was a time where my mom was very capable of using Lyft, and that was a great option. But that has changed to where that's not really a good option anymore. It's not really a safe option. And so I think, Drive a Senior serves such a great purpose especially for people who, have parents in town even, but aren't able to always take them. And especially for people who don't have kids or family in town.
Yeah.
Really hard.
And this sounds like a wonderful program, which I think it is for the seniors, but it's actually a two-way street. It's a wonderful program for the volunteers.
Sure.
We have a lot of junior league members, and a lot of them are young mothers. So they take their kids along, and so they go on the ride, and they get to interact with the grandmotherly person who they're picking up, and so on. And they see from an early age that they can be helpful, and so on. And as you say, many people may have a family in town, but it just doesn't work for them.
Yeah,
to always provide, and we will provide up to 2 medical visits a week. If sometimes we extend that, but generally that's our capacity with the number of volunteers we have.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you for those who aren't in Austin, and lots of people on our Facebook group are not from Austin, people who are still trying to figure out who can I reach out to, and we're going to put a list on the description from some different cities around the country. But if you're not sure and you're looking up and you're trying to contact different people in the city, different organizations, as an expert and as a doctor, what should we be asking? What should the kids be asking about what we're looking for to transport our parents? Any big questions we should ask as we're trying to set something up?
Well, of course, the very first problem is, when do they stop driving?
That's a whole topic, isn't it? That's a topic in and of itself, isn't it?
I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I dealt with people with fractured hips, which meant they couldn't drive. And so I had to discuss with them, well, I think for now, no driving, and we'll see in the future, and that sort of thing. So, and let me tell you, taking a license away from an individual is like cutting off their left arm. I mean,
yeah, it's tough.
We know that from Kim's mom.
We've been through that. It is tough. It is a tough road, for sure.
Yeah.
Most cities have a resource for various senior facilities. They have recreational facilities. They have meal programs. They have transportation programs, but they are generally aware of services in the community. So that would be the first place to go, is to the city where you live.
Okay.
For sure, you can go online and look up senior transportation or senior that sort of thing. We are an all-volunteer organization. We are a faith-based organization. We initially started out with 5 congregations supporting us, and now we have 17 congregations, including 2 Jewish synagogues. And we're looking to expand our access and that sort of thing. We want to expand our volunteers, and our organization started out as West Austin, and we serve the central part of Austin and the west side. we have recently joined up with another organization. And I should preface that by saying, in our 35 years, we have spawned 8 other organizations: Northwest Austin, Northeast Austin, North Central, Round Rock, Pflugerville, all the communities around Elgin.
Oh, wow.
So all of those now have Drive a Senior organizations. They're little different names. Pflugerville, Round Rock, and Northeast have become Senior Access, but it's still the same program.
Yeah.
And it's all they even use the same software that we use.
Right.
So I think we're probably a pretty large metropolitan area with these services. And I don't know how big other areas are, although, as you've indicated, you look on the computer and you can see them in many states in all over the places. And I think the city, but there is a senior service. Well, in Austin, you can dial 311, and I think for sure they can help you with that sort of thing too,
or connect you to the right people. Okay,
exactly.
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's just good to know that there are services out there and there are options out there, and this conversation definitely hopefully helps people know at least where to start asking to find them.
Yeah, well, it's real important in it. And as I said, in Austin has one of the fastest growing senior communities in the country. And with that sort of influx, we find a lot of problems that we weren't aware of so much in the past. And as I say, we provide information about senior services. We provide errands. We even go out and rake lawns, and we put in light bulbs, and little things that keep them in their home safe, as safe as we can provide, because we don't want them climbing up ladders.
Right.
No.
Right. That creates other issues.
Not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we visit them when we pick up individuals. We actually peer in the house. We're not being snoopy, but we look for throw rugs that need to be picked up. We look for how the patient is doing. Are they really functioning okay?
Right.
Or do we need to call their family and say, things look a little shaky here. Should we help you evaluate that? So, we provide, in essence, a social service as well.
Yeah. Just kind of helping to be the eyes and the ears for the family that may or may not be close by. So that's a great service as well.
That's so good. Yeah. Kit, thank you so much. And we appreciate all that you do and your expertise. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
It's just so good to have something like Drive a Senior. And again, wherever you live across the country, there are organizations out there. It's just a matter of finding them, helping them help you.
Right. Absolutely. And so hopefully this has given people insight as to know kind of what questions to ask, what to search for, and a good reminder that if you have the opportunity or the ability to volunteer, a lot of these organizations do run by volunteers. And, and Taylor and I did Drive a Senior quite a bit as part of National Charity League. And it was good for her to be exposed to that and for me to be able to help. And it's a great way to be able to volunteer where it doesn't take you're not having to commit necessarily a whole day. You're committing 30 minutes or 45 minutes to drop them off or to pick them up. And so I know that these organizations would benefit from having volunteers, especially if you're in a city where your parents aren't. So you can help parents there, and then somebody in the city where they live can help them. So it goes around.
Yeah, a great topic to talk about. If you have a topic that we haven't hit on yet or something that you want us to talk even more about, let us know. We'll find an expert, do an interview, and get the ball rolling just for you.